A few years ago, I couldn't focus for more than 10 minutes at a time. My thought process were not on point, and I kept making stupid mistakes in my daily work that compromised my performance. Since I had already been studying the world of productivity and performance for quite a few years, I was very effective, yet I could not muster the necessary cognitive energy to deliver outstanding results in my work. What happened? I was suffering from severe brain fog, and here's how I fix it. Hey, I'm Leon Castillo, founder of Selfmastered, a high-performance training company that helps entrepreneurs scale their businesses by solving their silent bottleneck, their own performance. We transform the unproductive, overwhelming, and focused entrepreneurs into laser-focused business athletes that can achieve in one day what they previously achieved in 1 week. Hello friends, so today I want to talk about brain fog, which is a condition that most people in the workforce suffer from on any given year. So before we start, remember that brain fog is not a medical condition, but is how popular culture calls a few symptoms that affect our ability to think straight. And this manifests when you have a string of bad decision making, when you cannot put thoughts into words, when you cannot focus. All of these symptoms is what we normally call brain fog. It can have a multivariate origin. It can come from different sources. But in my opinion and in my experience, and this is how I fixed it, it essentially boils down to two things. One is your gut health, and the other thing is your stress management techniques. And in this video, I'm going to share exactly what I did to fix myself when I was under intense pressure, because I had very fast professional development from being an analyst to a private equity real estate director in about 30 months. And that came with a lot of hustle. And at some point I realized that I may have deviated from the normal nutrition and psychological and physiological protocols that I used to follow in order to be performing at elite level. So the number one thing that I focused on is my gut health, because I went into the rabbit hole of learning about prebiotics, probiotics, inflammatory foods in order to understand if I was following a nutritional advice that was not adapted to what I needed at that time. And what I found out was very interesting, because I found out there's a few key foods that are inflammatory that can prevent you from thinking straight. And the 5 toxic triggers are sugar, dairy, gluten, alcohol, and coffee. So what I did is I removed that for 1 month, and then after 1 month I started reintroducing each one of these 5 foods every 3 days in order to find how did my body and my brain react to this food. And what I found out is that sugar had a massive impact in my ability to think straight. So the first thing I did is I eliminated sugar from my diet, and I could naturally see a surge in clarity and focus abilities. But this is not enough, because you need to take care of your gut health in an holistic way. And why do I mean by this? Well, as you probably know by now, there's 9 times more bacteria living in your body than cells. So you have a microbiome living within you, composed of trillions of bacteria that help you essentially produce neurotransmitters, digest food, and do a host of function in symbiosis with our body. So the better health those bacteria have, the easier it's going to be for you to get the outcome you want. So you need to take care of that. And how do you take care of that? Well, it's a very simple process. There's 3 parts of it. One is that you remove bad bacteria. And this is something that is quite extreme, because it implies cleaning your stomach and doing a few things that are only recommended in very extreme cases. So I won't go into that. 2 is adding good bacteria into your gut, and 3 is feeding those good bacteria. So how do you feed good bacteria? By adding probiotic, which are live microorganisms that are present in some food that can help us with the health of our gut. And this essentially can be found in fermented food like kimchi, which is a Korean dish, sauerkraut, which is a German dish. Essentially all foods that are fermented but still safe for human consumption. That's what a probiotic is, and this is how you feed good bacteria. to your microbiome. And how do you feed it? By having prebiotic, which are essentially non-digestible fibers that we can put into our organism so those bacteria have their preferred foods in a way and they grow. And over time, as I did this, at the same time that I was removing coffee, sugar, dairy, alcohol, and gluten, I found that I started having more energy, I started having more focus, and the only thing that I had changed is having probiotics and prebiotics at night and not eating those 5 foods. But this is not enough. There's one crucial final step that made everything click and really remove that brain fog, which haven't returned since. And before we get into it, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because we're running a few promotions for our subscribers and we're giving away worth thousands of dollars in courses on productivity and performance. And really because it's the right thing to do, right? You love this channel, so subscribe and hit the bell. And the last thing is stress management. See, stress can be very good or very bad for you. And in fact, we have a video about this that I'm going to be linking right now. The idea is that unless you take control of your stress response, it is extremely easy to underperform, because you keep relying on the fight or flight response on the sympathetic nervous system, and before long you end up paper cut, unable to pay attention, always in reaction mode, and not able to design and execute on your plan. So it is absolutely essential that you take control of that stress response and do so in a systematic manner. So this is not something you do once, this is something you learn to do. You turn into a habit because it becomes your identity. And the 4 things that I do to control my stress response that ended up really removing all brain fog, and it has not returned since, is 1 is meditation once or twice a day. This is non-negotiable because this gives me the ability to pause and to find solace amid the chaos, because entrepreneurship is extremely chaotic. Then something I also do in order to trigger acute stress response so that I'm able to sustain longer bouts of stress, so I'm artificially creating a stress condition in my body, is cold showers. Cold shower lasts 2 or 3 minutes and it really provides a boost in energy in the body by, I won't get into detail, but essentially working on your adrenaline system. So the cold can definitely help you tame that stress response. And something that is also along these lines is deep breathing, or tumo breathing, or you may know it as Wim Hof. It's essentially another way of triggering a short stress response that can up your stress threshold and essentially give you the ability to sustain higher and more intense bouts of stress down the line. And finally, I gave myself more sleep opportunity. What does that mean? Well, if you've ever used a device to track your sleep cycles, you've noticed that if you go to bed and stay in bed for 8 hours, you won't sleep as much as 8 hours. You sleep 7, even 6 hours and a half, depending on your natural sleep blueprint. And this is because you may wake up during the night, you may take time to get into sleep, you may wake up before the time. So in essence, if you want to stay asleep for 8 hours, you need to give yourself more sleep opportunity. You need to give yourself 9 hours or 9 hours and a half so that you can sleep 8 hours. And this is really depending on the efficiency of your sleep, and this is something you can track with an Oura or the Whoop Band or Fitbit, and it depends on your genetic makeup and your lifestyle. If you have a lot of coffee, then you have less sleep, you have worse sleep. In essence, it depends on who you are and what you do. But I highly recommend you buy one of these devices and really work on having more sleep opportunity. So this is how I cured my brain fog. First, I eliminated all inflammatory foods in order to understand which one, if any, had an impact on my ability to cognitively perform, and I found out that sugar actually had an impact. Then I went deep into the rabbit hole of probiotics and prebiotics. I started introducing probiotics in my diet, and I have them every day ever since. And I also worked on giving those probiotic, those live microorganisms, the food they prefer, which is a prebiotics. And finally, I worked on my stress management protocols. I instituted that meditation once or twice a day. I worked on deep breathing and cold showers. And finally, I gave myself more sleep opportunity. And I was able to remove this brain fog in probably less than a month. So I was really anal about this. I needed to perform. So I radically overhauled how I rested, how I manage myself, and what I eat and when, in order to solve it. So I hope this was useful. Please let me know in the comment if you need anything else from my side to maybe you're suffering from this, maybe you don't. Let me know if you learned anything, and see you in the next video.